All right, let's set up our suspensions. And this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to have to grab everything we want at once. We can't really decide later to add something else without some extra work. And that's because when we copy everything, we're gonna copy the subframe also. So everything will be attached to that subframe. So let's make a double wishbone suspension. So for the double wishbone, of course, we need a wheel. We need a control arm. We need a shock. We need independent steering, and we'll grab a sway bar too. So select all that. And also we have the subframe here, so make sure you get that. And we'll do Shift D, then just move it down here along the Y, where we will assemble it. All right, so let's move our control arms down. And we can move them down a little bit. And we can copy them, Shift D, and then along the Z. So we have upper control arms also. Let's move our shocks so that they are just out of the way, but somewhere right there is fine. And we need our steering. We're going to move that in right there. And we need our sway bar. So G, Y. Yeah, we'll move that in here. Let's move them in a little bit. It's about right there. Oh, it doesn't look like my... Oh, sorry. There we go. All right, move that in. Something like that. Okay. So now we have all the pieces. They're just not connected. All right, so let's just do this. Let's connect everything together. Let's move our subframe down a little bit. So it's a little bit lower. Okay, let's select our steering, motor, and rack. And we need to attach it to the subframe. Or, connect it to the subframe. And we need to attach or connect our outer ball joints to the upright. Okay. Now we can do our control arms. Our inboard connections, these axles are going to go to the subframe. So we have 4 of those. And this one. Okay. And the outboard connections, these ball joints, will need to attach to the upright. So let's do that. Upright. And upright. Upright. And upright. Okay. So now our upper and lower control arms are attached, and our steering is. Let's do our shock. This needs to attach to our lower control arm. Do the same thing on this side. And the top of the shock needs to attach to our subframe. So there we go. All right. And our sway bar, we need to attach our axles here to the subframe. And we need to attach our Z-links to the control arm. Like that. Okay? All right. Now let's go into a top view, and we'll move this closer up here. And we'll just go ahead and add a fixed constraint too. So Shift D, and let's just move it to our subframe. Shift S, selection to active, And we'll just move it a little bit on top. And we want to connect it from our CG to our subframe, like that. And we can make our subframe passive. I mean, our CG passive for now. All right, so let's test it. Make sure to save it. And we also want to come into our rigid body world, make this 60. Actually, I'll show you what happens when you don't do that. And it goes kind of crazy. Let's do that again. Go. Okay, it looks like it's working, but there was one thing I forgot to do probably in the last video. Because it looks like our motors here are reversed. Our preload motors. So I'm going to do, for each one of them, I'm going to do RY 180. And that's just going to flip it around. RY 180. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. So RY 180. RY 180. So now it should be correct. And it is moving it down, so that's good. All right, it looks like everything's working pretty well. Might have a little instability there. Let's see if it steers. It does. Seems to be working. Okay. All right, so that seems to be working okay. Let's zero out my steering.